Brilliant, guys. We're going to start off a bit differently. What I would like you to do is just close your eyes for me. Brilliant, you can open your eyes now. Now that was agonal breathing, commonly known as the death rattle. Now that's when someone experiences respiratory distress and they're in the final stages when they have had a catastrophic trauma or a medical emergency. They no longer can sustain their normal breathing rate. And in that instance, you would have to apply emergency first aid, such as CPR. Now, this will be a running theme throughout our talk. But firstly, as Mario has introduced, I'm Salma, I'm a clinical sciences student. Matt is a peace studies student, and together we are the founders of Community Aid.
Now, I'll give you a brief synopsis and understanding of why we've actually chosen the titles. I'm sure you're really intrigued to find out. So, to save a life is to save the world entire. Has anybody heard that before? Put your hand up if you have. Okay. Schindler's List, various other programs, something like that. That's actually where it originated from. And actually where this has actually come from is it's a verse both found within the Quran and something called the Talmud, which is a religious book within Judaism. Now, the reason why we've actually looked at this and used it as a phrase to underpin our understanding and deliver that to you tonight is mainly because we believe to save one life is more important than saving the whole world, because if you save one person, then that's what you've achieved on your planet here. That's what you've done in your state. Now, for us, this is a message that underpins our ethos and the right to access healthcare across the international spectrum. It means that you can also access healthcare regardless of your creed, regardless of your religious background, and also your heritage. And to us, that's pretty important, especially in the line of work that we do. And it's something that we respect, admire, and try to promote with every single initiative that we deliver. So, what does this really have to do with innovation, education, and change? Now, it's a really good question because the project that we're delivering today is so infantile and it's so small. It's 2 students compared to PhD guys, people from across the pond as well. Why are we actually here talking to you today? And I'm sure that's a question that's going into your heads. But before we get onto that, I'd like to introduce ourselves properly. So, sorry, I'm not a techie, I'm good with paper. Is that okay with everybody? Cool. So, my name's Matt, as Sam told you, and at the age of 14, I was completely fascinated by the subject of first aid. Being a student who's dyslexic, that's something going wrong with, being a student who's dyslexic and dyspraxic, sitting there with maths and English didn't interest me. But sitting there and listening to someone who's telling me, right, okay, this is how you open an airway, and this is how you listen for breaths, that interested me. Because it's a practical subject, could be applied in real life, and it could actually mean the life or death for someone that you don't know. And to me, that was absolutely amazing. And that's really inspired my thinking, and that inspired me to join 2 of the leading organisations in first aid, and that's where I am today. Apart from, we started up our own organisation, and we're here to tell you what we've done so far.
So, since a young age, like Matt, I've always had a fascination about people who've worked in the healthcare sector. Now pursuing a degree with the intention to become a doctor, it's my opinion that healthcare provision is recurrent and timely, yet constantly changing within the world. Its dynamic, yet pertinent nature is not only of academic use, but also of contemporary benefit. So 6 years ago, I embarked on my journey to learn more about pre-medicine care, especially within the realms of first aid. Now, I know probably what you're thinking, why is a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old standing up on a stage telling me about a subject that I did maybe a year ago and what everyone else knows? But we're here to shake what you think about first aid. We're not here to only tell you how you can revive a person back to life, but also the city and the community that they live in. When people think of first aid, they think of CPR, the golden hour, presentations, HSE, but hopefully what we will share with you tonight is our story of innovation, education and love. Now, first aid isn't what everyone thinks. It's not about treating a bleed, about doing CPR or putting someone into the recovery position. It's actually an act of humanity. Given without discrimination, it helps empower communities to look after themselves as well as others. We believe that it's also a global responsibility, and that in turn creates a more safer and resilient community.
Now, I'm sure you're asking why we stood here today and what's our big idea that's so TED-worthy? Well, to be honest with you, one thing that I need to kind of discuss with you is that everybody got here somehow. Someone might have rode a bike, someone might have lived in Bradford, and someone might have commuted in. And more importantly, people will be watching us today. But one thing that everybody can appreciate is the town that they live in, the city that they live in, and the community that they're a part of. There are difficulties that are there every single day. And we don't know what those difficulties are because it's sporadic. And it's up to that community dependent on how diverse it is. But there are some things that are pretty much generic. Those genericities are that there is a diverse population that could have issues with crime, that could have issues with segregation, social empowerment, and the fact that people aren't engaged and don't have political participation. And also conflict. Conflict's a pretty big one. And this is what we're going to talk to you tonight, is how actually we can use this basic principle and apply it to solve some of these issues. Now, so, what is community aid? Community aid is, in fact, a key. When you look at society, a society is massive and has lots of different things to offer, but different things to take. And what we do is we engage with communities, and these communities come from different shapes and sizes. But what is great is if I turned up your door tonight and I said, my name's Matt, I can teach you first aid for free, no charge, no cost, what would you say to me?
Come on in.
Come on in, as well as what else would you say to me? Yeah? Some people might ask me how much, is there a charge or is there a catch? And I'd quite simply say no. And to be honest, why the answer is that is because if I said to you now, what would you do if your son turned blue? You would all want to know the answer. And I'm not going to hold that answer against you or take it away from you because that knowledge is incredibly important. And that's what we're here today to share with you. So, who is that message important to more than anybody else? It's the marginalised. It's the people in society who are segregated. It's the people in society who need that knowledge. And that's what we're all about, is bridging the gap between communities. And it's also about generating a broad spectrum of those who are disengaged. How do we achieve that? As you can see down here, we're not standing up here, and we're not actually just presenting a PowerPoint. We're talking in a way which is accessible to you, but delivering in a way that's accessible as well. And that's how we do it. We think out the box, and we present it in a way. So, what does that achieve? It achieves us to enable us to break those barriers, to walk into a community and deliver an initiative that enables them to access better healthcare and understanding of what to do in an emergency. So, the concept. Community Aid is a non-profit organisation. It's run by people living and breathing and studying in Bradford. It's been a success so far. And that is the reason why. It's because we're people in the community ourselves. We're people who understand the dialogue of the community. And what we also know is the best tool for change, the most effective tool for change, is creativity. And that's what we actually do, is we bring people together through the age of creativity. And with that, we make improvements to not only their health, but the health in that community as well. And one of the most effective initiatives that we've had is the development of first aid awareness courses free of charge to those who are marginalised, single parents, homeless, who have little access to the support that they need. And that's what it's all about. And community aid builds those bridges.
Brilliant. So first aid is a fantastic subject. It's tactile, it's engaging, and more importantly, it's important for those in a time of need. And this interest initially sparked Community Aid because we wanted a language which we could engage with everyone else. But it also helps us to answer an important question, which is, how on earth did this partnership occur? What does science have in common with health? Now, scientists' brains honestly work differently to P-Studies' brains, and Matt can be a bit of a pain to work with sometimes. Likewise, so can I, but that's the nature of working with people. But the beauty of it is we complement each other. And what we've been doing throughout our talk is we've been holding something as creative as Play-Doh. So Matt, if you could grab mine.
So I'm totally dyslexic and quite forgetful as well, and colourblind, so that went well. There you go.
There you go. Could you mash that for me? And that one.
And that one.
And that one, please.
I demand it tonight.
So we've got two different colours there representing two different things. So one is health and one is peace. And when you mix them together, you get something beautiful. And hopefully Matt will have done it right.
I've got two hands. Yeah, we're just going to all use your hands together.
Okay. And it should represent something like the world. Now, why is that beautiful? Because in first aid, you can pluck subjects together. You can pluck subjects out. Pluck out a bit of health, pluck out a bit of peace, take it out of a PowerPoint and throw it to the people. See? People can touch it because it's tangible and it's practical. Now, health and peace are closely linked. You can't have one without the other. Because we believe that those values derive from humanitarian principles as well as medical ethics. Where there is no peace, there is violence. And violence is a major source of disease, causing death and injury, reduced access to healthcare, increasing communicable diseases, as well as reduced water and sanitation. Now, access to basic healthcare, it provides equity, solidarity, and social justice. And in turn, that creates conditions for stability, hope, and peace. Now, we both understand that health initiatives have not and cannot achieve peace, especially in areas of religious, political tensions. Health initiatives often serve as the last point of contact between conflicting parties, and health programmes also serve to increase understanding between divided people, demonstrating the power of sustained cooperation in hostile environments.
Now you get to know me a little bit better, but it's also a little bit of you inside that we're going to explore now as well. Because at one point in our life, we wanted to be a superhero. If I wasn't running around the costume in Lidl with my Superman outfit, there was something wrong that day. And I all expect that was the same case with everybody in here, because everybody has a superhero complex. Whether that's someone wanting to be a lawyer, a fireman, or an ambulanceman. That was me wanting to be a policeman. And the reason why that was is because I actually just wanted to help people. But one thing I realised, definitely, let me get another page for this, is that actually, what is a superhero and what does it mean to be extraordinary? So, at the age of 19, I identified that I could no longer fit into my Superman costume, sadly. But what I did understand was that I didn't have to fulfill my ambitions of being a superhero, as cheesy as it sounds. I actually didn't have to be saving the world from gargantuan threats of alien invasion, but actually what I could be is a student in adulthood and be okay with that. And what I had to do is identify that a superhero is actually someone doing something for the good of another person and taking extraordinary steps to achieve that. And to be honest, that's me, Salma, and you guys. And the fantastic thing is, first aid is exactly that. It's not exactly sitting there and deciding how you're going to do world domination and doing it through peace. It's actually just how you can actually support someone in their hour of need. But one thing we will talk about is some things that we have achieved so far as a tiny, small organisation. In 2013, we arrived in Gaza. Gaza is a war-torn country and a protracted social conflict for many years. One of the biggest things and issues that it has is an arduous conflict is the fact that it has very limited resources when it comes to medicine. My belief there was that we arrived in Gaza and we thought, you know what, let's learn, let's experience, and let's take away. I wanted to do that to understand what we could do together to achieve a better, more prosperous society in a whole, internationally. But also, whilst there's a demand, and that demand was first aid. It meant that I had to go there and teach people how to open an airway to make sure that safe transition to hospital was achieved so that no one died en route after an attack or just a normal 999 incident. It also meant that I had to teamwork people I didn't actually know. Also meant that I had to build friendships because that's a pretty hard place to work with. But more importantly, I had to deal with the demand that I couldn't actually support. So what we did do was we came back from Gaza and we identified ways in which we could support them. And that was through our International Health Initiative.
So for the past 3 months, we've been lucky to have the support of the University of Bradford Students' Union as well as the National Union of Students. And this has meant that we've been able to branch out to deliver an international health initiative. Now with the core team consisting of myself, Matt and Emma Jones, go on, give us a wave, Emma. Yeah, there we go. The central objective of the initiative was to link international development with sustainability and frontline healthcare with the help of staff and students on campus as well as local and national and global organisations. As part of the initiative, we connected people through first aid and international health perspective to raise awareness and also increase confidence. This was done through exploring the necessity for the first aid in remote areas during conflict and in global disasters. Now, when you ask someone what does health mean to them, it doesn't matter if they're in that same country as you or in a different continent. There is an expectation that everyone should have access to healthcare. And we know that that's important and we believe the same, but we also believe that education around healthcare is also incredibly empowering as it enables us to save lives, which we feel is something we should encourage. So we asked a couple of people what health meant to them, and we've correlated it into a video, which we will show at the end. So as you can see, we will have demonstrated how even though there's no physical link between the participants, you can have a clear understanding about what health means to them. And we hopefully will have showed you and endeavoured how we've brought about change through healthcare. Now, we understand whilst there can be no one idea that will answer some of the vexing questions that are asked about community change, but what we do know is, and believe in, is spreading knowledge and skills is a way that we can save lives. Now, do you know what it takes to save a life and save the world entire? Oh, what's going on there?
You don't actually have to call an ambulance, it was actually timed that way. Don't worry, guys. Okay, thank you very much, guys. We'd also like to say thank you to Shutterstop.